Future of Work, presented by our sponsor, AARP. Yes, the nation is finally emerging from the shadows of the pandemic. Companies are hiring and rehiring. Offices and workspaces that were empty for months are welcoming back remote employees and employees in person. But millions headed back to work are headed to a changed world and perhaps an uncertain future. We're going to explore these changes, taking a critical look at the employment outlook for communities of color. And you'll learn more about the National Urban League's long-term workforce development program and its success in preparing our communities for the future of work. Lastly, we'll hear from our keynote speaker, the Honorable Martin Walsh, Secretary of the Department of Labor and former mayor of Boston. Secretary Walsh will outline the lessons learned from the pandemic and share the Biden-Harris administration's plans to address wage inequality and expand the middle class. Now, let me turn the program over to National Urban League's Senior Vice President for Economics and Housing Programs, Cy Richardson.
Thank you, Joy. And thanks to all of you for joining us for Back to the Future of Work. As Joy mentioned, the focus of my role at the Urban League is helping African Americans achieve their employment and financial goals. The Urban League's workforce development programs are active in 60 affiliates across the country, providing job skills training, career counseling, and other supports that open opportunities to that next level of success. Put simply, the program changes lives. Where there's been hardship and setbacks, we find potential and nurture it. Where some only see limitations, we provide the skills and confidence that breed hope. In the video we're about to see, you're going to meet a special couple who perfectly illustrate the power and potential of the Urban League's workforce efforts in communities across the country. Both these participants feared that incarceration was the end of what their lives could be. It turns out that a new, open-ended future was about to begin.
I don't know how to put it in words. I want to be awesome. I don't want anyone to know me as all he did was go to prison. When I was 17, I went to prison. Where I came from, it's like the norm. That was one of my turning points, going to prison. Once I got my HSED, my whole life turned. I started looking at stuff like, I'm gonna need this when I get out. I'm gonna need that when I get out. So I started wanting all this educational stuff. Any pilot program, put me in it.
Tristan and I, we have been together a long time. We got out of prison, we came to Madison, and we started looking for jobs.
It's scary sometimes.
We lived off Park Street. I saw this big Urban League. I'm like, what in the hell is the Urban League? What is this?
So I talked to this guy and he told me, like, we teach you like the basics of getting into trades.
Urban League will help us get those individuals ready. They offer some great young people that are talented.
I went to the Carpenters Union and I signed up to take the Carpenters test. Passed it with like a 91 or something.
We do a 4-year apprenticeship program.
More money than I've ever made in my life just starting out as an apprentice.
Most of it's on the job, but we do classroom training and shop training. And by the time they're done, they're a pretty well-rounded carpenter.
I'm a black guy going out into the world, trying to get far. And I got a felon on my background. Who the heck are we, you know? But the trades, it's forgiving. It's so forgiving.
He's a good worker, great work ethic, and a sharp individual. If we could have 100 of him, life would be great.
The Urban League don't just do trade programs. They help people get into the medical field. They help people get into like laboratories like my husband.
I finished the Exact Academy at the Urban League, and then shortly after that was offered a job. I was pretty excited. I think I cried, but like Tristan will tell you, I cry over everything. And then we wanted to save money to buy a house. October 1st, we closed on a house.
It feels awesome. We have a house and not an apartment. I parked on our lawn the other day just because I could.
2 years ago, we were in the joint. We bought a house.
Because of the Urban League, I was able to get into this career Because of the Urban League, my husband was able to get into his career, and because of our careers, we're able to buy a house. That's crazy.
I mean, I did not expect that, because coming out of prison, you're not told that. You're told all these horror stories of how you're going to fail.
I feel like I've done something. I know I'll never go back to prison.
Tristan and I have followed the Urban League blueprint for success to the T. And we are proof that that blueprint works.
They helped 2 felons get to where we're at now.
I just feel really grateful.
Got into an awesome field. Got married on Easter. We got a house and we got bank accounts. And we're not done.
Wonderful. And we want to thank the Urban League of Greater Madison for providing that moving profile. Here to talk more about the Urban League's workforce development programs, please welcome Michael McMillan, President and CEO of another one of our outstanding affiliates, the Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis. Mike?
Thank you, Si. What you just saw in the Greater Madison video is just one example of the transformative stories playing out in communities like yours every day. In St. Louis, a community that has seen more than its share of hardship and challenge this past year, the Workforce Development Program is having a monumental impact, reaching more than 5,000 residents and restoring hope. We believe the work being done by the Urban League in St. Louis and in cities across the country can be a model for all employment programs moving forward. This is the perfect transition for our distinguished keynote speaker today, the Honorable Marty Walsh. For 7 years, Mr. Walsh served as the mayor of Boston, where he set records for new affordable homes, housed more than 2,400 homeless residents, and ended chronic veterans homelessness. He also made great strides rebuilding the city's middle class, creating over 140,000 new jobs, moving thousands of low-income workers into better paying jobs, and fighting for a statewide $15 minimum wage and paid family leave. In March, Mr. Walsh left his mayoral post to serve as President Biden's Secretary of Labor, where he has the opportunity to take his passion and ideas national. We are pleased to welcome U.S. Labor Secretary, the Honorable Marty Walsh.
Thank you, Mike, and all of today's panelists for leading this important conversation. Thank you to my friend, President and CEO Mark Muriel, for inviting me to address the Legislative Policy Conference. And thank you to everyone at the National Urban League affiliates all across the country for the vital work that you do in our communities. As Mayor of Boston, I work with the Urban League leaders in Eastern Massachusetts to advance equity in many different policy areas. And as Labor Secretary, I'm proud to be your partner in the field of workforce development. You're making practical, positive changes that improves people's lives, and you're advancing the Urban League's historic mission of civil rights, economic empowerment, and social justice. This work has never been more important. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed and exploited deep inequities in our country. None of this is news to anyone at this conference, but let me be absolutely clear and go on the record as your Labor Secretary. Structural racism is deeply embedded in our society and in our labor market. Workers of color experience persistent discrimination. Black unemployment is routinely double the white rate. Workers of color earn less than their white counterparts for the same work, and they are overrepresented in low-wage and more dangerous work. All of this inequity is unjust, and it weighs down our economy. So we cannot build back where we were, because frankly, where we were wasn't good enough. We must rebuild with a clear goal of breaking down systemic racism and building back better for everyone. This is the vision of the Biden-Harris administration for the future of work. It's a future where working people are at the center of our policies and our prosperity. And it's a future of equity and opportunity for all. In the first days of the Biden-Harris administration, the President issued an executive order making racial equity a priority across the entire federal government. As the President said, we need to open the promise of America to every American. In the Department of Labor, we have begun that work. We have assembled a group of agency leaders to advance equity in all the ways that we serve the American people. That means making sure funding for unemployment benefits in the American Rescue Plan supports greater access for workers who have historically faced barriers. It means making sure workers in every community and industry know their rights and how to seek help if they are being mistreated or discriminated against. It means enforcing overtime and other fair pay laws, because paycheck theft is one of the most damaging legacies of systemic racism going back through our nation's history. And it means holding employers who do the business with federal governments responsible for complying with anti-discrimination laws. The American Rescue Plan is moving us forward. Already, nearly 2/3 of American adults have received at least one dose of the vaccine. As leaders on health equity, I encourage you to keep urging and helping community members to get vaccinated and to be safe. In addition, billions of dollars have gone out to safely reopen schools, child care facilities, and businesses. And the child tax credits due to start going out this summer could cut child poverty in half. But that's just the start. The President's American Jobs Plan would put equity at the core of how we achieve economic success. It's a plan for infrastructure that prioritizes the needs of communities that have been marginalized. It's a plan for clean energy that centers on environmental justice. It's a plan for universal broadband, clean drinking water, and affordable housing that, as a former urban leader, I know would be transformative. It's also a plan to create millions of good jobs with pathways into the middle class designed to reach those who have been shut out in the past. The American Jobs Plan would invest $100 billion in workforce development. At the Department of Labor, we could create up to 2 million new registered apprenticeships, including supports and programs designed to achieve equity in those life-changing pathways. And thanks to the work of the National Urban League and many other partners, we know how effective these programs can be. The American Jobs Plan would also invest $400 billion in the CARES economy, increasing access to care and raising wages for the mostly women and people of color who do this skilled work. The American Families Plan goes a step further. It's about rebuilding the foundation of the middle class and opening up to everyone. Affordable childcare for every family, removing a major barrier for women in the workforce, free universal pre-kindergarten starting at 3 years of age, free community college, and paid family and medical leave for all workers, a policy we will be ready to implement at the Department of Labor. This is a bold vision, there's no doubt. But as the President has said, we are at an inflection point. What we do now will determine the next chapter in our history. So I encourage all of us to think big, especially when it comes to the future of work. I'm asking employers to look at their own organizations to see what they can do to support a more inclusive workplace. Those who have taken steps forward are already finding that equity is a competitive advantage. I'm also listening to those who have been doing this work for many years. This vision will move forward in many ways based on the conversations that you have at events like this one and the work that you do back home in your own communities. So I look forward to hearing from you and working with you. Together we can advance equity for all Americans. And by doing that, we can build a stronger nation. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Secretary Walsh, for your message and your insight into the administration's strategies for job creation and equitable opportunities in the new economy. And thanks to all of you for joining us. Until next time, see you back at work.